So let's talk effects loops. I usually get a lot of people that ask me about how or why you should use an effects loop, so let's break it down. So your amp has two stages, a preamp section that shapes your distortion and your EQ and your tone, and then the power amp section that pushes everything to your speaker. Now, the effects loop sits right in between those. So why does this matter? So if you're running a high gain amp or an amp that gets dirty or it's broken up or using any sort of overdrive coming from it, you essentially want to look at it as one big overdrive pedal. So on a pedal board, if you're feeding your delay and your reverb into this preamp that's dirty, you're just feeding that into a distortion and things can get really messy. So by putting those effects in an effects loop, you're putting it after your distortion or overdrive and things get much cleaner. So not every pedal goes in an effects loop. Now your compressors, your wahs, your fuzzes, overdrives, all those usually sound better going into the front end of the amp, into the preamp. Now modulation pedals on the other hand, those can kind of go either way. So if you're a fan of, let's say, Eddie Van Halen, he usually put all of his wet effects into the front end of the amp before the preamp, before the distortion. Now that can get you a cool gritty sound, and if that's what you're going for, great. But if you want a clearer, more prominent modulation sound, you put those in the effects loop after your preamp section. Now keep in mind, if you're running a simple clean amp, you don't need to use the effects loop here. But if you are running any dirt or any distortion coming from your amp, use the effects loop. Everything in front of the amp will shape your tone, everything in the effects loop will shape your space, and that's how you can get the most out of your effects loop.